If there was a mass looting on Fairfax,
yes,
and hundreds was totally fine, would you be offended?
Would I be offended?
All your competitors' stores are trash.
So, back during the riots that happened on, like on Fairfax and Melrose.
Yes.
I remember you said something so insightful about that when you were like, well, we're the ones responsible for placing value on these things.
Right, yeah.
And
I mean, I think we have responsibility in that for sure.
Because you have a store there, right?
We do, yeah.
Where is it, on Melrose or Fairfax?
We're on Fairfax, just a couple blocks south of Melrose. Yeah, Fairfax.
So Melrose, if you guys aren't aware, has been going through a ton of like crime, and the LAPD released a safety alert just warning people not to wear high-end jewelry when you go to Melrose, like when you're shopping.
Or how about police better? What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Hey, don't go to a high-end fucking jewelry shop and like wear jewelry.
Or go into a high-end jewelry shop and be like, and then like they put it in your bag, you know? They put it in your bag, and then you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. This place is expensive.
You have to like role play as poor people to like get your shopping done. Yeah.
Oh wow! Wait, what? For a watch? Are you guys out of your fucking mind? Thank you.
The funny thing is that if you don't look rich and you go to these stores and the employees just go, "Can I help you?" Like they're just judging you. Like, hey man, they told me not to, you know.
But if you show up just like this, they roll out the red carpet.
And then there's thugs outside, just like, oh, wait till he comes out.
Sir, may I offer you a charging station for your hat?
Is it USB-C or Lightning? Yeah, so there's a ton of different robberies happening all the time. Even the kids walking to Fairfax High are getting like their phones jacked. Just like everything you could think of. What do you think about that current state of Melrose? Because you guys have been there so long.
I don't even think it's just Melrose. I think it's LA. I think and then it's most cities in the country.
It's San Francisco too.
Yeah, it's Honolulu too.
Right? It's Honolulu. Right. So a lot of major cities it's definitely not just LA. I mean, my car got stolen last week. What? Right in front of my car. It's the second time in 3 years. Just fully jacked.
Into this too.
Yeah.
Like a lot
just like kids just pull up, get out. They use, they have like amplifiers and they unlock your doors and they put something up to the string.
Where was your car?
My car flashed in front of my house.
Oh my god.
It's like so normal that in the morning my neighbor was like, your car's stolen again, and
Again?
I know the whole protocol. I have to go to the police station, file the report, same guy, and then I have to submit that to BMW just to locate the car, because all the cars have locators now. It takes them a few hours. And then they're like, it's here, and then the cops, it's like a whole thing. It takes over your whole day. Then you have to replace these, which this is the biggest scam in the world. These things cost like $600 now. No, instead of like, we used to just have these. Right? Like this used to be your car key. And this was fine. Like I was okay with this, right? But now they invent these, which are like $600. And they cost like $20.
Soon it's going to be a subscription service for that.
For sure. And BMW is doing all these like add-ons, whatever. I know we're complaining.
I knew a guy with an Aston Martin, and he got the crystal key, which is like $20,000 or something for no fucking reason. And we were at my friend's house, and he loses the crystal.
Of course he does.
Yeah, can't find it anywhere. We're all trying to look for it, but also I'm not really trying to look very hard because I'm like, fuck you getting a $20,000 deal.
He's like, help me look.
You see it over there, you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when I'm looking for something for Nikki, like I'm always like, oh yeah, no, I'm just looking at all the area around me. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not here. I don't fucking know where it is. Yeah.
It's not on me.
Do you think that the police are responding well to things going on in the area?
No, I think they're doing the best job that they can. I have a lot of friends that are on LAPD force, and like they're up against the wall too, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of people a lot of cops retired during the early pandemic. A lot of them were like, I'm not incentivized to be here anymore.
Yeah, people blame the cops, but it's really the prosecutors not doing their job.
I think there's like definitely an element of that too. I think it's like super nuanced once you get into it. And then there's also an argument that this has been going on for quite a while, right? And like it's been accentuated because of the last couple of years, and we're like scrutinizing it more. And now there's like more videos, like watching everything, and I see every single robbery that happens now. And like jackfruit is just just stuck in my algorithm, dude. Like anytime someone punches an Asian person anywhere, I'm like, oh my god. There was one that I was driving here, and that someone was like, a jackfruit was like, does anyone know this person? And it's just like a Latino guy that's driving, that's yelling at another. Did you see this? It just happened an hour before I got here. There's an Asian guy driving, and he's filming this Latino guy pulling up next to me. Pulls his eyes back, and he's just like, watch where you're going. And jackfruit's just like, does anyone know this man? And I'm like, come on, did I need to see? Like that one happened. That one was almost comical, right? Like I see that like 400 times. Any Asian,
Like, come on, guys, doing a bit. Come on.
Yeah, come on. It's a character.
I'm not saying it's good, but we're so acclimated. Asians, like I grew up seeing that, where I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna track this guy down.
Happens at recess. Yeah.
You know, like
We're gonna track this.
like, are we all gonna like flame
gonna
this
catch
guy
his
and make
scent with
sure
a
he like
Doberman?
loses?
I know, because that's not the same as beating up an Asian grandma. It's like, but they get treated the same. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
Steve did that to us when he walked in.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, that's how I say good morning. It's my GM.
It's my GM.
But I don't
scale.
know. I think there's like systemically, I think there's so many things that have gone wrong and are off the rails, and like we're all hyper aware of them. You know, I think that there needs to be a lot of correction and things improved, and there's like most of what I was saying even back during the riots was just the wealth disparity alone, and like the haves and the have-nots. I think that's a really significant issue that needs to be explored and addressed, and that's I try to address that a lot, bring it up a lot. You know, like there's a reason why a lot of these things are happening, and you can't blame a lot of people without means for wanting to steal things that you're constantly dangling in front of them, being like, you can't have this, right? Like Jerry Seinfeld and Kith, it's really cool, but how does it feel to someone who will never have that, and you're like, you'll never be enough unless you have this, you'll never be as cool as this.
Yeah.
They can only take so many generations of that before they're like, you know, like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks. I'm never going to be set up for success.
Can't they just get some Kith socks, though, and be happy?
I don't know. I'm sure Kith socks are like $150,
Probably,
which is
yeah.
outrageous.
Fucking crazy.
Right? Like, this is the nature, and that's really like the overarching statement of what I was saying was like, we all participate in this. It's called Veblen goods, which is like you're essentially making something expensive just because, right? And then that makes it cool. And it's not necessarily, this doesn't cost $600 to replace, but it's a status symbol for me to have it. And so we're constantly indoctrinating young people, especially in consumers, to say, oh, I need to spend this much just to keep up with the Joneses and to feel I'm of value, and it's not real.
I mean, Jordans, bro. Like, look at all the kids who, like, waiting for Jordans.
Yeah, and
like,
people, like, get killed or
Yeah.
they get into a lot of fights over that stuff, and it's like, can you really be that surprised when we architect marketing and branding to put people into these positions
And then
where
who's
they're
the
forced to do that?
Who's the basketball player who came out with cheap shoes and all the kids started
Shaq?
making fun of the kids?
Jack, yeah.
From Payless,
yeah.
right?
He made like $20, $30 shoes.
Hey, fuck your Shaq shoes. It's like,
Yeah,
But awesome.
Right.
Like, I love
They
that.
tried to like solve it.
yeah.
Because accessibility, people see it as cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's for everyone, then it's like all of a sudden not valuable
Yeah.
because anyone can get it.
There was like, and I talk about this a lot, but in streetwear in the early days, the whole point of streetwear was you wanted to wear something that nobody else had, right? And you want to feel special, because fashion was being heavily commodified by Old Navy and Gap, and everybody was in khakis, and there were people like us that were like, I don't want to be just like the rest of the people in khakis. I want cool baggy denim. Where do I buy that? And so streetwear was set up in a way where it was like there was a scarcity of goods, but it wasn't about how expensive it was. It was just geographically out of reach. So it's like you can still get it, but you actually had to try. You had to like go onto the right message boards. You had to know the right person. You had to like be involved in the culture, know a guy, know a girl. That gets you into the store, and then they would validate you, and then you would actually be able to buy the pants. And so there was like, you could actually earn it, and it wasn't about you were priced out. But then the internet happened, and then all that stuff ended up being accessible to everybody. And so the only differentiation of whether you can get something or not was how much you priced it at. And so then streetwear went from being, to me, more about for the people and for the culture to like, are you rich enough to be able to afford this? And it's not even designed well. It's just, it's expensive, which is again the Veblen goods thing, which is
what NFTs, half of NFTs are like that, too.
NFTs and art and luxury goods and the luxury market and a lot of what we do now. It's like, is that coffee necessarily better than McDonald's coffee was fine when we were growing up, and now there's like a $10 coffee that you're supposed to drink.
Nick Cafe.
Yeah.
I would say that in human nature, though, everything has that evolution cycle. So, for example, all rebels become institutions, right? So, like, all rebel groups, which is like a counterculture group or whatever, they'll take over, they'll become the dominant group, and then they'll become the old guard. And then a new group has to form to break that. So it's like, it's also like a sign of youth, right? To be rebellious, like streetwear was rebellious or subculture.
Counterculture,
Like,
yeah.
being punk, whatever. But it all becomes commoditized or whatever.
Montage, yeah.
Fucking
Kamala?
commoditized.
All heritized.
Because
It gets arrested for a minor
also,
drug infection.
the people of that subculture become older and they need to pay bills, like hippies.
Yeah.
Like all like, and this happens in cycling.
And they want to turn that Back to the Future love into a Back to the Future business.
right.
Yeah.
Like
But
the
wasn't that-
surfers, they were lower.
They were the
income
first real
guys.
counterculture, yeah.
And then they turn it into a business. You know, it's all consumerism and like.
I was
it's a
just
billion-dollar
having this
business.
conversation the other day because someone was talking. Speaking of like being involved in activism and social justice, when I was in high school, someone's like, "How'd you get into? Or were you always this way?" And I was just like, "Yeah, when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, I was going to Black Panther rallies because at that time that was a real subculture and it was this really subversive effort to be involved in these movements, and it wasn't cool or mainstream to be into politics at all. Most people in the 90s, like the 90s generation, really didn't stand for anything. Like Woodstock was kind of like the biggest social movement of its time, which wasn't just like Limp Bizkit and people moshing in mud.
Well, we had Nickelodeon's The Big Help,
Yes, oh yes, you're right.
and we were crushing it.
So to be involved in like to be hyper aware of politics was like you were like a real outlier.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? But now to be involved in politics and social justice and activism, it's like so mainstream.
Yeah, it's
and now
expected.
like it's expected and every celebrity, every big brand does it. And so it's always puts me into a weird position where I'm like, I'm really interested in this stuff and I think it's important, but the way that a lot of it's playing out is like through signaling or, you know, it's being corporatized or it's being sold as like a product. And I'm like, that's such a weird relationship to have with activism and social justice to where now it's almost like a logo you wear.
Yeah, it's so
right? And there's
monetized,
literally
too.
brands that are built around like the name of the brands are about like being socially aware. And I'm like, that's cool, but then it's also like really counter to the ethos and like the spirit of what it's supposed to be, because then you're conflating commerce and money with actual like I'm doing things because I believe in it, you know, or because I want it.
I remember seeing celebrities at award shows like in the 90s, for example, or 2000s, and they're all wearing ribbons and shit, like for whatever cause. And I remember like thinking like, okay, so that's what they're doing. They're wearing it on camera, so to them, they're doing something about it. And that was kind of the early virtue signaling that we all have on Twitter now. It's just, I retweeted a bunch of shit. I'm the fucking man today. I did a lot today for this shit. But I think
did a lot today.
the material,
I'm tired.
the material version of that, like that we had growing up, I saw that a lot, and I remember thinking how weird that was. Like that
is weird, yeah.
means you've done something for it.
Hey, we're spreading awareness. We're doing something here.
My last final question is: if there was a mass looting on Fairfax
Yes.
and hundreds was totally fine, would you be offended?
Would I be offended?
All your competitors' stores are trash.
During those riots, some of the stores on Fairfax did get looted. Ours wasn't touched for a number of reasons, but I mean, sure, like I'm like,
Would you be like, guys, come on?
This door's open.
Hey, we got good shit, real good shit.
It's expensive, real expensive.
How the fuck did Ross get taken?